Welcome back for Season 2, Episode 1. Thank you for joining me, guys. Today marks the beginning of a new season, and I took this opportunity to make some long overdue changes that are going to help me release a little more content more frequently. That's something I've been working toward for a while. But just as important, I think they'll also go a long way in shaping and defining what the Aether will be going forward. So it's time to take what we've learned from Season 1 and build something better, more cohesive, with a stronger vision and awareness of itself. It's time to dig a little deeper and move away from the crowded middle to find our own quiet, contemplative place, because engaging with the pop paranormal scene, ufology, all the salesmen and the narratives is pretty exhausting. And quite frankly, I think it's a waste of time if what you're after is objective truth. I'd rather engage with the experiencer and the phenomenon. These are really the only two sources that tell us anything meaningful. And if we can report what these sources tell us and do it objectively, we can begin to turn down that noise and start to see a clearer picture. If Season 1 had any overarching theme, I think it would be validation, making the case that these phenomena are real and reinforcing the just because it didn't happen to you or I doesn't mean it didn't happen ideal. I wanted to lay the groundwork with that because, a house is only as strong as its foundation, right? And if the Aether was merely built on the desire to entertain people with weak stories and shallow perspectives, that'd be a self-inflicted, well-deserving death sentence for the show. It's a little early to declare a theme for Season 2, but the key things I'm going to zero in on are more transparency and honesty, and a clearer focus in terms of content. In other words, more of a micro view of these phenomena versus the macro we've kind of covered in the past. It's good to pan out for perspective, but being closer to the source and getting a more intimate version of the story is a completely different experience. And we often hear about skeptic-turned-believer stories, and usually this transition is set in motion by an event. Sometimes it's a traumatic one like an NDE, other times it's something less dramatic like a sighting or sensing of another presence not human in origin. In any case, people all over the world every day come face to face with things and experiences that force them to reevaluate everything they know. It happens all the time. And I'm not sure if these shifts in perspective are simply the after effect or if they're the end game, right? We've all heard plenty of stories about benevolent space brothers that apparently want to save us all from ourselves, but we've also heard of tricksters and other entities that don't appear to have our best interests in mind. So maybe it's best we keep our wits about us and remember that we're just so vulnerable when faced with these unknown forces. Our minds could go in any given direction. Remember the story one of my previous guests told about the mom and daughter who witnessed the same UFO together? Mom felt this emphatic love and joy while the daughter experienced crippling fear. Were those feelings forced upon them somehow, or were they just predisposed to react the way they did? If you find out your house is haunted, do you pack up your shit? Or do you try and understand this other side? Does it have a message for us? Do we allow it to change us? Today, we're going to be talking to somebody who faced some of these very same questions, and perhaps by learning about the choices he made and what his life is like today, we can catch a glimpse of that empirical truth we're all seeking in these phenomena. Let's head into the Aether. Welcome to the program, Jonny. How are you, man?
I'm doing great. How about you, Cody?
Doing well, my friend. Thank you for taking the time out to come on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited.
Yeah, same here. Can you start off by telling us where you're from and where do you call home currently?
Sure. I'm from New Jersey, and I'm in South Jersey and Laurel Springs, New Jersey.
All right. And how would you briefly describe your family life growing up? Big family, small family, normal childhood, not normal?
Yeah, normal childhood. pretty big family.
Okay.
I was adopted, so I was an orphan. And then grew up, childhood was pretty normal. Nothing crazy, nothing paranormal happening or anything along those lines.
Okay. Right. So I was going to ask you, growing up, though you were drawn to the paranormal, you said you never really gave a whole lot of belief to much of it. In the years before you met your wife, did anyone around you, friends or family or otherwise, ever report anything paranormal or just unexplained, I guess?
Not really. I mean, I had some weird things happen, like late teens and early 20s, but it was stuff I really didn't put a whole lot of thought into.
Right.
Like I had an ex-girlfriend who said her cat haunted her house. And she said that the doorknob would move in the upstairs bathroom if you were in there. And so I was like, okay, whatever. And then one night I'm in there, and wouldn't you know, the bathroom, the doorknob started moving a little bit. Then so I told her about it, and she's like, oh yeah, that was my cat. But it wasn't a big deal. I didn't put a whole lot of thought into it. You know?
Yeah. Well, in that case, that makes sense. I could see how that could be perceived a few different ways there. Let's move forward then just a bit to around the time you met your wife, and that was roughly 5 years ago, right?
Yeah, it was about 2013.
Right. Okay. And how did the two of you meet?
We met through some friends.
Okay.
Yeah, just through common friends.
And she shared an odd detail with you at that time about her house. What was that, and what was your initial reaction?
Yeah, she just kind of mentioned some stuff about her daughter seeing spirits, and that whole situation when she was younger. And I just accepted it. I heard what she was saying, and I accepted it. But I really didn't. Again, I didn't put a whole lot of thought into it. I just it's nothing I had experienced, like how she had described. So I just said I just listened to her, and that was that. I didn't doubt her, but I've never experienced it, so I really couldn't relate to it.
Right. You hadn't had that confirmation yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when did you first start to suspect there may be something more to this? What was the first thing that happened that forced you to reevaluate?
I got to remember. So it was before I moved in. You know what? I think the first thing that happened, I had slept over on a weekend, and it was a Sunday morning, and I was just kind of waking up, and I heard in my ear, my right ear, like a female voice and kind of aggressive, and it said, "Get out of here," something like that. And I sat up, eyes wide open at this point, and I looked around the room, and my wife was still, or my girlfriend at the time, now wife, she was still sleeping. So I just lay back down and just kind of thought about what just happened. And after she got up, after we got up, then I told her about it, and she just kind of listened, but she didn't really. Nothing like that had ever happened to her, so it was just kind of strange. But it didn't like scare me off or anything. I just kind of was intrigued, I guess, maybe a little excited that okay, I experienced what you told me, and that's kind of cool.
Yeah. And did you, I mean, outside of your house, did you talk to anybody else about what was going on there?
Yeah, I really didn't tell a whole lot of people. I just wasn't sure how receptive other people would be to it. Like if the conversation would come up at work, then I'd chime in and kind of give some vague details. But I just a lot of people I work with a lot of people who are pretty conservative, so I don't think they'd be real receptive to this stuff.
Gotcha. You've had quite a few paranormal experiences in your home, including trickster phenomena, poltergeist activity, and this is in your current home, the one you live in today, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you also mentioned something pretty interesting that happened as you were trying to sleep on the couch in your kid's playroom. What happened?
So, that was October 23rd in 2017. And it was a Friday night, and my kids were staying over that weekend. We both have two kids, and we both had our kids that weekend. And so I go to sleep later than my wife. She goes to bed pretty early, so I didn't want to wake her up, so I slept downstairs. And so I decided to sleep in the front room, which is the kids' playroom, and we have a couch in there. So I went in there, and probably about 12:30 at night, and All the lights were out. There is like a little nightlight in there. And so I'm laying there 5-10 minutes after I'm laying down. I hear, it sounds like a hard wooden object get thrown. And in the room we have a dollhouse for the girls. And it sounded like it hit the dollhouse. And the dollhouse is made out of wood. And it was like ricocheting around like 3 or 4 times. And then it landed wherever. And it's carpeted in there. So it landed on the floor somewhere. And so I sat up immediately. And I'm like, what the hell was that? And so I sit up and I'm looking around. I don't see anything because it's nighttime and I just didn't see anything with that, even with the night light there. So I lay back down and try to get myself settled again. And all of a sudden, it was the weirdest thing. I felt like a tingling sensation from the top of my head. And then it started off slowly moving down towards my feet. And it was like a beam, almost like a beam was like scanning me because it didn't feel like it was just going up and down my body, like enveloping my whole body at first. It was just like slowly going from the top of my head and slowly making its way down.
Now, were you still wide awake at this point, or had you fallen back asleep? Were you in that space between, or?
No, I was still wide awake.
Okay, got it.
I just heard that ball or whatever it was, hit the dollhouse. So I'm still, my eye, no way I could have fallen asleep right away after that. So this is only a few minutes after that. And so that whatever beam or energy, it kept on going. It kept on going up and down my body, but it sped up. And then like my whole body was vibrating. And then it just stopped. And then so after that, and it only lasted a minute or two. I don't know. It felt like it lasted longer than that, but it probably only lasted like a minute or two. And so I sat up and I was like, oh, God, I'm not dealing with this tonight. This is weird. And so then I went upstairs and, I apologized to my wife for waking her up. I got in bed and I said, I got to tell you something crazy that happened when we get up in the morning. And that was that. I went to bed after that.
Huh. What was her reaction when you told her?
She just listened. She believed me.
Of course, she already knew something was up in that house.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So it definitely seems like some people are more receptive, more sensitive to the paranormal for various reasons. Like something within us is co-creating these experiences, or at least allowing them to happen. And it would appear you're one of these people, but you also had to kind of work to develop your unique abilities. So how did you first come to realize you had them? And then what steps did you sort of take after that?
So after that happened in October of 2017, I had heard a radio show, and a psychic named June Lundgren was on the show, and she sounded legit and really fascinating. And she offers readings. So I had that in my head since that October, and finally in December I contacted her, and she gave me a reading. She gave us an explanation on what was happening within the house. And so had that phone call. She took care of the entities in the house, the spirits in the house. And then I contacted her 3 months later. And during the second reading, I asked her, do you think I have any psychic abilities? And she said, yeah, I think you're a sensitive. And so I asked her how I could develop those abilities. And she said, she sent me a follow-up email after the phone call and just outlined ways to get to develop your abilities through meditation and some other exercises.
Okay. Did your wife ever kind of get involved in any of that with you, or is this just more your thing?
No, it was just me.
Okay.
She was supportive, but she wasn't trying to be psychic or anything.
Right. Okay. So you perform psychic readings now. You perform energy work. You're a Reiki practitioner.
Yeah.
I mean, these experiences didn't just change your life. It's like they transformed you into another version of yourself.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've asked yourself, why me, a number of times. So what is your response to that? Do you feel like you were sort of singled out by these others because of who you are? Or was it more about being in the right place at the right time? Maybe a little of both?
Maybe a little bit of both. I feel like looking back on the whole situation that's gotten to me where I am today, and even before that, it's like, I don't want to say destiny, but it's kind of like it was meant to be. It feels like, just from meeting my wife and the experiences she had, and me being a huge skeptic beforehand and an atheist, and going from not thinking that there's anything more than I can see with my own eyes to now knowing that, there's more to this world than I can see with my own eyes. And I've experienced things that are hard to believe if you haven't experienced them yourself.
Right. Yeah. And what I find so interesting, man, is as incredible as your story is, it's not as uncommon as people think.
Right.
People interact with these phenomena all the time, and it changes them, and oftentimes for the better, at least in terms of appreciating life more,
Right.
the desire to help others, not fearing death anymore. That's huge.
Yes.
And just having a more enlightened, positive outlook in general. So do you think this other side is reaching out to us to affect that change, or is that just part of the bigger picture we're not seeing?
I've thought about that before, and I don't know, man. I've heard people who know way more than me, say that, yeah, it's like a call that's going out to the world, people, and people speculate why more people are getting called to become light workers and help heal people, and it just sounds, their reasons sound pretty off the wall, pretty crazy, but I don't know, maybe there's some truth to it. Some people are saying that there's a spiritual war going on right now for, I guess, the earth or whatever. I don't know if it's that dramatic, but I do think something's happening.
Yeah, no, I would tend to agree with you there that something definitely is. And you're right, there's a lot of dramatic theories out there. Some of them have merit, some of them not so much. And the answers, they're really elusive, but I think it's something worth searching for. Was something else I found really interesting. You mentioned you create abstract paintings, and people have told you they've seen entities in some of your work, people that know nothing of your, previous paranormal experiences. So I'm curious, man, what is your perspective on that?
Yeah. I never saw that until people had brought that up. And I don't know, it made me wonder, like, was I channeling something, or was, subconsciously, was I kind of creating what I didn't even realize was here?
Are you seeing them after they've been pointed out to you?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah. After it was pointed out, yeah, I was able to see, oh yeah, I know what you mean here. I know what you mean. And then, it was something that didn't even occur to me until those people brought it up.
Huh. Yeah, you'll definitely have to send a few of those my way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So people that you've told about these experiences that knew you before all this happened, or people that just know now you're doing psychic readings, energy work, what is their general reaction like? I mean, do they treat you any differently now?
Well, I've only told a few people. I haven't really come out of the psychic closet, so to speak.
Okay.
The few friends that I did tell were really supportive,
Nice.
and curious about things, and so I haven't had anything negative happen from the few people I've told so far.
Well, good. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. I can kind of relate in a way, just moving to a new city, slowly getting to know people. It eventually comes up that I'm into this weird stuff and do a podcast on it. And yeah, the responses are always overwhelmingly positive. And not only that, it's like everybody has a story. And I find that amazing. People just now seem a lot more in tune, or at least accepting of these phenomena than I can recall just 10 or 15 years ago. So, I think that's a good sign. And before I forget to ask you, you're able to communicate with spirits. So has reincarnation ever come up? Is this like a recurring theme that you've been able to confirm by communicating with these entities at all?
Well, in the second psychic reading I had with June, I'm going to go back to that for a hot second. She told me I did have a past life, and she told me a little bit about that. And I want to get a past life regression to see, just to learn more about that and myself and all those things. Yeah, I haven't gotten any answers from any spirits about reincarnation. So that's a no to your question. But my personal belief is, yeah, that we do reincarnate. And I think, I don't know if this is too far out there, but I do believe that we reincarnate, but also a piece of us stays in, that other plane when we die. So you can, part of you is always there for your loved ones to communicate with if they know how to,
Yeah. Well, very well said. And I know we've touched on a few specific stories. Were there any others, or I guess otherwise, that you kind of wanted to share since we still have you on here that we haven't talked about yet?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't think the other side isn't something to be scared of. If spirits are reaching out to you, I don't think it's something to be scared of. It's, I think maybe they're just trying to get our attention, because from what I've learned and what I've heard from talking to other people, when you die, you're still the same person. You're just kind of in a different form, I guess, energy. And I don't believe that there's evil. I think, a spirit, if somebody might perceive a spirit as being evil, I don't think that's what it is. I really don't believe in evil at all. I think that's something that religion and the church kind of made up. But I do believe that if you're an asshole in life, why wouldn't you be that same asshole in death? You know?
Yeah.
So maybe it's just a ghost as being an asshole.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds maybe too easy to be true, but you very well could be right. I agree. The word evil has a lot of religious connotations, right? And I tend to not use that word myself. I'm not so sure that it exists either. Just not something that's in my vocabulary. And I would go as far as saying there are probably malevolent forces out there, but I wouldn't go as far as calling them evil. But Jonny, dude, it's been such a pleasure having you on. I hope you can keep me updated as things progress for you there.
Yeah, I'd love to come back on again and keep you updated. I'm telling you, things keep on getting more and more exciting the longer I continue to do this. It's just it just makes life more exciting, honestly. And I have a link I can send you for my website with all my art.
Oh, nice. Yeah, go ahead and share that now if you like, and then I'll also post that in the show notes for you.
Oh, sure. It's artofjonny.com, artofjonny.com. It has all my paintings on there. If you see anything, let me know.
Yeah, for sure. I will, because I'm really curious to kind of see how this all turns out for you. What's next? And again, you'll have to let me know. Keep me posted. Thank you again for making the time. I really appreciate it. And I hope we can get you back on the program here someday soon.
Thanks, Cody. This was great.
Yeah, man. Same here. Take care, Jonny.
You too.
See ya.
Bye.
Big thanks again this week to Jonny Troisi for reaching out and joining us and sharing his story. The events he described, I kept having to remind myself they're still pretty fresh. 5 or 6 years, that's not a lot of time to rewrite your entire worldview like that. just doesn't happen overnight. But I'm grateful he felt comfortable enough to come onto the program and discuss these events publicly for a change. This was his first time being on a podcast talking about this stuff, and he did a great job. I really respect that choice of, just saying, I'm experiencing this stuff, it's time to talk about it. And that transformation, it's still in motion. And coming on and sharing these things with you guys today is part of his journey now. And I'm really glad I could play a small role in that. Jonny actually reached out to me prior to my move to Oregon, so very glad I was finally able to catch up with him and feature his story here. I really enjoyed our talk, and I can't wait to see what else transpires for him. I'll definitely keep you guys posted. Today's show, it's not really about the things that haunt us. As the title suggests, it's about us, the ones being haunted. It's about how we perceive it, what it means to us, and how we respond to it. What stories like Jonny's give us is a glimpse of another reality that's right next door. It tells us that for all its mystery and ambiguity, the paranormal is not only tangibly real and able to affect our reality, we can affect it too, because we're connected. It confirms a lot of things that we've heard to be true about the paranormal, and we could spend time connecting all those dots, but we already know what those are. Again, this isn't about validation. This stuff happens whether you or I like it or not. This is about the shift we so often see in people after they've encountered the other. The more that we try to learn about these phenomena, it seems, the more we end up learning about ourselves. It's almost as if we're holding up a mirror, and perhaps this is where the ultimate truth lies, within ourselves. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review the show on iTunes, and follow us on Spotify. You can reach out to us on Facebook or Instagram, or you can email the show at theaethershow@gmail.com. Thanks again, everybody, for joining me in the Aether. We'll see you next time.